Hello everybody, welcome to another case study. In this video, we will be discussing my EURUSD execution for February 29th, 2024. And I'm also planning on making this a free case study for the public, so I hope you all enjoy this as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. If you go to the RCVX page, you guys can see that I posted my before and after, right, left to right, and price went well beyond our target. But go ahead and get right into the breakdown. Right, so over the past, I would say 6 months, I've really been trying to hone down on a framework that RCV members can follow so that it can be relatively straightforward to find an execution. And I think I found I don't want to say perfect, but I found a good mix, I would say. And I call it the 3-step framework. And within this 3-step framework, right, and they are as follows, and they are used in order. The first framework is direction. What is my directional bias from an external POV? And external is relative, right? Because obviously there is a hierarchy to the type of trader that you can be, right? There are scalpers, intraday traders, and you guys know that we split the intraday into minor and major, just because the intraday can be a bit broad. Then we go into swing, position, etc. So the external for a scalper may not be the same as the external for a swing trader, right? The external for a swing trader may be completely irrelevant for a scalper just due to the duration of time that every trade that they take will be. So when it comes to finding the directional bias for me, because I am an intraday slash scalp trader, I more than likely focus on my major intraday and my swing to find my direction. So just looking at this alone from an H4, even an H1, I understand that price is going downward. There is no need to complicate this, right? I'm seeing from the H4 that we have been coming down. Yes, maybe the position may be bullish, right? But internally, this is bearish, and this is what we are playing based off of. And I understand that, right, about a week ago, we reacted from a supply zone shown here on H4. So because of that and the confirmed reaction, which is the CBOS present here, it could be this one, but because this low was solidified based on internal structure breaks, we then have a sign of unwillingness to the upside and an internal transition to the downside. I understand that after this break, this POI has been considered valid, and I know that order flow is still being favored into the downside. So I know what my directional bias is from the external POV. Okay. Next is liquidity. Right? Why do I put liquidity above or liquidity after directional bias? Well, I see liquidity as simply the fuel of the market, right? However, fuel can be taken in both directions, so you can probably play liquidity in both directions, and we will go a bit further into this with this setup. But I keep liquidity as the second step because I need to know which fuel I'm looking to take, or which fuel I need to be taken in order to justify a scenario in the favored direction of the directional bias. So step 1, direction. Step 2, liquidity. And in this setup, I only trade during my New York session, which New York session opened up right around here. All right, so I know that I am externally bearish, and I see that my London high has been taken, right? I don't really care that this is a London high. I care that this is a solidified point that is being taken. And if you do not understand solidified points, I have a video dedicated to that in the refined course. But when it comes to finding a type of setup for me now, I know that I'm looking for liquidity to be swept, and I need an internal transition. That internal transition is step 3 of the framework. So we have gone over direction, we have gone over liquidity, and now I need an execution. I need my trading model, right? So it can be interpreted as DLE, DLM, completely up to you. But we always have to go from directional bias into liquidity into, right, trading model or trading execution, right? And the reason why I have it as such is because my directional bias is my roadmap. I need to know where we are externally, so I could find an internal play because I only favor continuations over reversals, right? And then step two, I need fuel, right? I need fuel in order to go from point A to point B on the roadmap, right? But that fuel is nothing without a vehicle, and that vehicle is my trading model. It is my method of execution. So within the internal price action, I know that my directional bias externally is bearish, but I also understand that internally, in order for my solidified high to be taken, I know that internally, order flow has to be bullish. Excuse me. But order flow has to be bullish internally in order for me to justify the potential liquidity grab of the of the solidified point. Sorry. So once I am seeing that I have my solidified high being taken, right, then obviously I cannot just sell off the bat. It doesn't make sense because, like I said, internally we are still technically bullish. So my execution comes off of my order flow disruption model, which is one of the three models that we trade within RCV, right? The order flow disruption model is essentially a failed POI, but it is not just a POI that is broken through, it is a POI that is reacted from and then broken through. Why? Because it shows an unwillingness to continue in one set of order flow and it reverses in the opposite direction. So what do I mean by this? I think if you go to 2, that was where this had occurred. Yep. So I have an M2SC, right? However, I cannot just play based on the M2SC, right? It doesn't make sense to buy here. Why? Because of the reasons that I have just discussed. So within this POI, I can see that we have a CBOS internally. So because there is a CBOS internally, I can justify even that from an internal time frame, there was some type of structure break. So, and you can see it here, you can see it here, and you can see it here. But I don't want to over detail this part of the trade. I just want to acknowledge that there is some type of structure break in there. So because there is a structure break in there, then I understand that within this POI, or that this POI is considered to be valid, right? So because this POI is considered to be valid, I know that there is still some type of bullish order flow pushing price up here. So once this is to then be broken, this is what we call disruption. It is a disruption of order flow in that previous direction to then flip, right? So now, once I see the disruption come into play, I could have played it based on the inefficiency fill shown here, right? I could have done that, but unfortunately, I was looking at AU at the time, and I didn't see this only until the bearish engulfing candle came into play. So once the engulfing candle came into play, then I am now 100% certain this is going to go in my favorable direction. So I am taking my trade based on the inefficiency left behind by the bearish engulfing candle, right? So that is where my execution is. And my SL has to be above the POI. I would not put it above this high solely because I don't know if this is still going to come back to react from the POI once again, right? I wouldn't want it to, but we never know what can happen. So I am putting my SL at the high of the POI because I know that if this region is to then come and break through the POI, then that is now order flow disruption in the opposite direction, which invalidates my bearish scenario, right? And this bearish scenario, right, was aimed to target, right, a previous solidified point. Because I am a scalper, I'm looking at a scalp entry, so I'm going to take a scalp TP, right? If I was looking for, let's say, an intraday scenario, then I would need to widen my SL. If I'm looking to take this low here, then my invalidation point to sell here, or to sell to here, is now no longer at the order flow disruption. It is now at the previous high. So if I am looking at this from solely a scalp POV, then my SL can be placed at the disruption here, right? But in hindsight, I could say that, oh, I could have held toward here. But like we said before, if I'm aiming for the external, which would then be an intraday target, not a scalp target, I would need to use my intraday invalidation as well. So you guys see that the RR is actually now less, right, than if I would have taken my scalp entry. So I would consider this to be a highly efficient trade because right from my entry, it went straight into TP, right? And that's another topic for another day. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. And if you guys want more, just feel free to comment down below. But I'll see you guys in the next one.